Boromir is a character in J.R.R. Tolkien's legendarium. He appears in the first 2 volumes of The Lord of the Rings, and is mentioned in the last volume, The Return of the King. He was the brother of Faramir and the elder son of Denethor II, the last ruling steward of Gondor. Boromir is portrayed as a noble character who believes passionately in the greatness of his kingdom, who would have defended its people to the last. Boromir's great stamina and physical strength, together with a forceful and commanding personality, made him a widely admired commander in Gondor's army. He was made captain of the White Tower, and quickly became captain general, also bearing the title High Warden of the White Tower. He was also heir apparent to the stewardship. Boromir led many successful forays against Sauron's forces prior to his journey north to Rivendell, which brought him great esteem in the eyes of his father, Denethor. Characteristics. Tolkien describes Boromir's appearance as reflecting his Númenórean descent: tall, fair, dark-haired, and grey-eyed. He was noted even beyond Gondor's borders for his bravery and skill in battle, and was accounted one of the greatest captains of Gondor. He was noble and lordly, and at the same time deeply loyal, exhibiting strong love for his people and his family. Boromir's character changes throughout Book 2 of Lord of the Rings, in line with the epic's progression towards the catastrophe that ends Book 2. Boromir is shown as having grown accustomed to the habit of command. According to his brother Faramir, even as a boy Boromir chafed under the notion that the stewards were not kings, though they ruled in all but name. He insisted on taking for himself the quest to Imladris, though the dreams had come first to Faramir. At Rivendell he, using what critic Tom Shippey describes as slightly wooden magniloquence, sets forth Gondor's claim to primacy in the War of the Ring. As Book 2 continues, Boromir is shown as displaying increasing bravado and recklessness. The captain of the White Tower craved honors, was irked at having to flee from orcs, resisted Aragorn's claim to leadership, and played a key role in the catastrophe that sundered the Fellowship of the Ring. In an opening scene of Book 3, Boromir redeems himself, fatally injured by orc arrows. Boromir admits his failure, advises Aragorn, and urges him to lead Gondor and save its people. Boromir's loyalty to his native city is shown as redressing the catastrophe he had brought upon the Fellowship by assaulting Frodo in his madness. Although Boromir's death ends the Fellowship, he is depicted as having died as a hero. Names and titles. Boromir was the son and heir apparent of Denethor, the ruling steward of Gondor. Appendix A calls him Captain of the White Tower, while Faramir called him High Warden of the White Tower and our Captain General. Boromir was described by Tolkien as a name of mixed form, and possibly combines Sindar and Bor, steadfast with either Sindar and Mir Equenima, Jewel. But the stewards of Gondor also often bore names remembered in the songs and histories of the First Age, regardless of meaning, and the name Boromir did appear during the First Age in the Silmarillion. The 11th steward of Gondor, Denethor I, had as well a son called Boromir who was described as a great warrior. This might have been an inspiration for Denethor II to name his first son. Interpretation of the character. Boromir's attempts to gain the ring for himself have been described as well-intentioned but oblivious of the potential danger. His perception of Middle-earth is biased by a point of view that imagines that divine powers have chosen Gondor to lead the fight against evil. He is always eager to praise the great deeds of Gondor, including his own. When his hubris eventually leads him into attacking Frodo to seize the ring, Boromir seals his own doom by giving in to the malign power of the ring. He makes way thereby for Aragorn to become the future king of Gondor, in a manner similar to Virgil's character Turnus. Boromir has been mentioned with other Tolkienian characters such as Fëanor or Turin Turambar, who display excess for the sake of their own personal glory, a trait in leaders that Tolkien himself despised. The character of Boromir has also been compared to the medieval legendary hero Roland. Both of them blow a horn in the distressive battle, and both are eventually killed in the wilderness while defending the companions. Portrayal in adaptations. In both Ralph Bakshi's 1978 animated film and in the subsequent BBC radio serial, Boromir is played by Michael Graham Cox. In the former, he is dressed in barbarian garb, which is departing from Tolkien's text completely. Boromir was played by Carl Christian Rundman in the 1993 Finnish miniseries Hobbitit. In Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings film trilogy, Boromir is played by Sean Bean. In a departure from the structure of Tolkien's book, Boromir's death is shown at the end of The Fellowship of the Ring, instead of being related at the beginning of The Two Towers. In the film, Boromir is mortally wounded by 3 large arrows fired by the Uruk High Leader Lurt, a character created for the films, instead of by numerous arrows from orcs led by Ugluk. He is found by Aragorn, who slays Lurtz before the latter can deal a final blow to Boromir. In The Two Towers, Boromir appears in the theatrical version only briefly during the beginning flashback sequence of Gandalf's fight with the Balrog in Moria. The extended edition adds 2 additional flashbacks. First, when Faramir remembers finding Boromir's body and his cloven horn in the elven boat washed up on shore, and a considerably longer flashback after Boromir's victory in Osgiliath and before his departure for Rivendell. The two brothers are seen celebrating and laughing before the father speaks, and the scene ends as Boromir leaves, saying to Faramir, "Remember today, little brother." Here, Boromir apparently knows that Isildur's Bane is the One Ring, and he is chosen specifically by his father, despite his reluctance to go, in response to a summons from Elrond. He is thus aware of the true meaning of the phrase Isildur's Bane when he arrives at Rivendell on horseback. In The Return of the King, Boromir appears in the theatrical version during a brief flashback as Pippin remembers his heroic self-sacrifice. Due to that scene alone, Sean Bean's name and portrait appears in the closing credits of the film. In the extended edition of the film, Boromir appears briefly when Denethor looks at Faramir and imagines for a moment that he sees Boromir walking towards him, smiling.